Two texts today. Our first is from the Gospel of Mark. We're kind of working through Mark little at a time. And we're going to start with verse 20 of chapter 3. Jesus entered a house. A crowd gathered again so that it was impossible for him and his followers even to eat. When his family heard what was happening, they came to take control of him. They were saying, "He's out of his mind." The legal experts came down from Jerusalem. Over and over they charged, "He's possessed by Beelzebub. He throws out demons with the authority of the ruler of demons." When Jesus called them together, he spoke to them in a parable. He said, "How can Satan throw out Satan? A kingdom involved in civil war will collapse, and a house torn apart by divisions will collapse. If Satan rebels against himself and is divided, then he can't endure. He's done for. No one gets into the house of a strong person and steals anything without first tying up the strong person. Only then can the house be burglarized. I assure you that human beings will be forgiven for everything, for all sins and insults of every kind. But whoever insults the Holy Spirit will never be forgiven. That person is guilty of a sin with consequences that last forever." He said this because the legal experts were saying he's possessed by an evil spirit. His mother and his brothers arrived again. They stood outside and sent word to him, calling for him. A crowd was seated around Jesus, and they sent to him and said, "Look, your mother, brothers, and sisters are outside looking for you." And he replied, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?" Looking around at those seated around him in a circle, he said, "Look, here are my mother, my brothers. Whoever does God's will is my brother, sister, and mother." And mother. Our next text comes from 2 Corinthians 4, and we'll start with 13. "We have the same faithful spirit as was written in Scripture. I have faith, and so I spoke. We also have faith, and so we also speak. We do this because we know that the one who raised the Lord Jesus will also raise us with Jesus, and he will bring us into his presence along with you. All these things are for your benefit. As grace increases to benefit more and more people, it will cause gratitude to increase, which results in God's glory. So we aren't depressed. Even if our bodies are breaking down on the outside, the person we are becoming on the inside is being renewed every day. Our temporary minor problems are producing an eternal stockpile of glory for us that is beyond all comparison. We don't focus on the things that can be seen, but on the things that can't be seen. The things that can be seen don't last, but the things that can't be seen are eternal. We know that if the tent that we live in on earth is torn down, we have a building from God. It's a house that isn't handmade. It's eternal and located in heaven." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So I am the oldest of 6 siblings, 4 whole and 2 half. I want to ask a series of questions, and by show of hands, if you are comfortable, let's get to know each other a little bit. Who among us is the oldest child in a family? Feel free to look around. We're all facing forward, which is one of my issues with church, okay? All right. Who is an only child? All right, got a couple. Anyone have half siblings or step siblings? Okay. How many siblings? All right. 1 sibling. Keep your hands up. 2 siblings. Look around. 3 siblings. 4 siblings. 5 siblings. 6 siblings. 7? Do I have 7? I feel like an auctioneer. Do I say 7? 7, 7, 7, 7? So there's 7. Is there 7 in your family? Paul? 6?
No, you said keep your hand up. No, I mean.
Oh, you were like 6. I got 12. So anyone have 7 siblings in their family? total? So 6. I'm the only one with 6? Yeah, 6 total, that's what I mean. Okay, but there's not 7, you're 6. You got 6 too? 6 total. Okay, 6 total. All right, but no 7s. We top out at 6. Oh, you have 7? It's math. No one said there would be math, right? Does anyone have adopted siblings? Okay. Is anyone adopted here themselves? Okay. Yeah. All right. You don't have to keep showing your hands for this, but in this room, if we think about it, there are some who still have their parents living, and some who have lost one, or maybe both parents. There are some who are in the thick of caring for their parents, with all the dynamics of all of the siblings. There are some in this room who have siblings who struggle with mental illness, and with addiction, and with financial debt. And there are some in this room who are that sibling. This story today is one of the few that Jesus' family plays a prominent role. His family has come out to control him because they believe he has gone out of his mind, is what it says. We're only in chapter 3 of Mark's gospel, and already Jesus is portrayed, well, like not typical. He forgives sins in addition to healing a paralyzed man. He is challenging and even provoking the religious leaders of his day. Last week we read about him healing on the Sabbath, and when he was questioned, he's angry at them. And I don't know about you, but I feel like in Sunday school I was taught Jesus was angry one time, and it was at the money changers in the temple, and it turns out Jesus is angry a lot of the time. It comes out as disgust at the religious elite most of the time, and here's the thing, we just don't relate to them, says the one who is wearing the stole. Jesus calls them names all the time in the gospel. So we're beginning to see how Jesus is causing division. This is not how we typically characterize Jesus. But this is absolutely how Mark is characterizing Jesus. There are growing divisions in the people, those who are following or watching, and they're wrestling with who is this person and what is he trying to do. His family has come to control him because they believe he's gone out of his mind. Now, the understanding of mental illness today is completely different than that of that time of biblical times, but I learned this week that a French psychologist wrote a 4-volume set psychoanalyzing Jesus' mental health using 20th century understanding. There's actually quite a lot written about whether or not Jesus was bipolar, a megalomaniac, a paranoid schizophrenic, a utopian fanatic, and epileptic. Now, I have only been your pastor for a couple months, but I know that in our church there are several families who have experience with various forms of mental illness. And I personally manage anxiety and complicated grief. I'm cautious to label anything as a disability, mental, physical, or emotional, because God made us each unique, and we profess that we're all created in the image of God exactly as we are. For too long, our society has ostracized those who are not typical, as if there was an overwhelming majority who are typical. So let me offer this as what I think about when I think typical. If you remember, when the pandemic first hit, or for that whole first year, we took our temperatures everywhere we went. Remember? We would lean in and it would tell us what temperature, like over and over. So we all became aware of what our typical temperatures were. And it turns out that the temperature 98.6 came to be known as typical based on a scientific experiment of 10 people. A majority of 10 people had a temperature of 98.6. And so show of hands, again, if you're comfortable, whose typical temperature is 98.6? 1. You don't remember pandemic stuff? All together, what's your typical temperature? Just say it out loud. 97.2. So what am I trying to say? Jesus was unique, just as we are. Jesus was created in the image of God, just as we are. Was he different than we are? Sure, we're not him. He's not us. And so here we have this situation where his family is thinking he's out of his mind. The religious leaders are saying that he's of the devil and he fights the devil with the devil. And Jesus points out that that's really bad reasoning. And then his family appeared again wanting to see him. And Jesus does something stunning. He radically defines family. Kinship is not based on blood, but anyone who does the will of God is Jesus' family. Jesus' real family is the faithful church. The early church would have found that consoling because so many of them had lost their family of origin as a consequence of them finding faith in Jesus, ripped apart from their brothers and sisters. And we too regularly use the term church family, right? We've heard that. Many of us like to use it. For those of us who've grown up going to church, this is very much a second home, right? A place of belonging. It's a place where we often are accepted in ways that our family of origin does not understand us or relate to us. But church families can also be divided. We are a group of unique people with all different backgrounds. Just even what we learned about our siblings makes us all different in how we relate to the world. All kinds of places we come from and ideals and belief systems and hopes, and then we all gather in this one room and we sit together. And we make up our own system here, our own family system. I prefer family of faith or community of faith to church family. I think I like it because it includes what holds us together, which is faith, trust, faithfulness. It's when we gather that we encourage one another, just as Paul was encouraging those in Corinth. We encourage each other by saying, even if our bodies are breaking down on the outside, the person we are becoming on the inside is being renewed every day. We encourage each other with the idea that our minor problems are producing a stockpile of glory to be revealed someday. When we gather, we also don't focus on the things we can see. We focus on the things we can't see. Because the things that can be seen don't last, but the things that can't are eternal. That's the lens we have when we gather together as the family of faith. I think the other reason I prefer family of faith to church family is that family is hard. And most of the time we are stuck with our family, right? We can put boundaries around our siblings and our cousins and whatever, but if someone of DNA needs us, we pull it together to help because it's family. But that's not the same when it comes to church family. We have known folks to leave when we're hurt, when we're divided, when we disagree, and when we don't understand. Church family is a bit more risky, I guess, than DNA family. Because we know that the other can walk away. We don't want that because it hurts. But if we were to characterize ourselves as a family of faith, then faith is what we lean on when we need one another, or when there is a need, or when we don't understand one another, or when there's a disagreement. We lean on our faith. That's not easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but at least it gives us a tool to remain together, to trust one another, and to be faithful to one another. There are only a few of us in this worship here. There are only a few of us in this space who worship together, whose siblings also worship in this space. It's not even a handful. Most of you come and your siblings don't worship here with you. For the most part, our relationships here are developed, and they are developing, and they will develop in the future as kind of a chosen type of kinship, which is what Jesus was talking about. Those who do the will of my Father, those are my kin. This is the family of faith. So might the Spirit move in us to be faithful to God and to one another. Amen. As you are able, let's stand and call ourselves to worship.